Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I am Jeremy Weber, joined by my co-host, Dan Vondelok. On today's show, we're going to give our top 10 NFT watch list for the remainder of 2022. It's been a pretty crazy start to the year. We think there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen in the back half of 2022. We want to make sure that you're aware of all of that. Before we get started, please like the stream, subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, head to FLOLiO.com, FLOLiO.com. Get a free portfolio evaluation. You don't need to connect your wallet. Just copy and paste that address. Download our browser extension, also free, has a ton of great data. We are doing a little bit of shopping in the NFT market, and that browser extension is absolutely going to help you out. And lastly, nothing we say is financial advice. We are keeping an eye on these projects personally, and we just think that they're interesting to keep an eye out for yourself as well. So with that being said, Dan, how are we doing? How are we feeling about the remainder of 2022?
It's going to be interesting because we've seen the NFT market recover slightly. We're seeing higher volume. We're seeing more stable NFT market stuff. Honestly, like it seems more like, aside from the whole, there was a new free mint. I think no, not the Habibis, something close. I think
The Saudis, there was
the
another,
Saudis, the
there's a
Saudis,
bunch of
yeah,
free mint. Yeah, there were a
yeah,
bunch of free mints this weekend. The
yeah,
Bagners, which went
the
to like zero
Bagners,
almost immediately. There's a lot of garbage out there.
yeah,
But with all that garbage, there is some really good stuff too.
yeah, yeah. So we're going dumpster diving.
That's not to say dumpster diving. Some of the projects that we're going to be talking about today
Yeah,
have been around for a while and are continuing to build. Some of them are on the new side. We wanted to have a pretty wide array of things. So
yeah.
before we get into our top 10 list, we do have a few honorable mentions because it was tough to whittle it down to 10. So, Dan, why don't you start with your two honorable mentions?
Yeah, so my first honorable mention is Llamaverse. I I haven't put them on our top 10 list because they're working on a lot of things. They are creating this huge ecosystem with a bunch of different like side projects, and lots like a whitelist ping system, like an onboarding thing, like a play to earn thing, and they have a lot of employees working on this. But part of me wonders if it's too much to take on, too much to tackle perhaps. But still, I'll be tracking them every move, and I'm curious to see where 2022 is going to take them.
And then you had one more on there as well.
Yeah, and I had House. So they're also creating this ecosystem, but they went off they got a pretty good start in 2022, I think, with Murray. With yeah, I think it was just Murray at that time, and the House Faces, which is like their main collection, which usually gives you whitelist to one of their other collections. But they have had some internal struggles for the last couple months, it seems like, and a lot of announcements on the Discord saying, yeah, like it's not going too well, and we need your like help and stuff, and a bunch of stuff that you really don't want to see being announced. But part of me wonders if they can create like a comeback, they can get their stuff in order and knock it out of the park.
Okay. So my two honorable mentions. First up is Cyberfist. It is a comic, 80s style NFT. Robbie Trevino is the artist. He's a pretty well respected artist in the industry. He has a lot of work on Super Rare Foundation, sites like that. And it looks like they're trying to create like a comedy series with some like kind of fun art. So I think that's really cool. And then also NFL All Day. NBA Top Shot is what got me into NFTs. It has had its struggles over the last year. NFL All Day is getting ready to go into its first full NFL season. I think it's still under discussed, undervalued. I bought my first few moments last night because I'm a big NFL fan. The season will be here in less than 2 months, so I think now is a good time if you've been waiting to start collecting NFL All Day moments. This is probably a great opportunity to do it because I found some players I really like who seemed undervalued. I picked up some Josh Allen moments, some Stephon Diggs, Joe Burrow. So a lot of great opportunities there. So just those are four that we want to put on our honorable mentions, and then let's get into our top 10. So Dan, why don't you lead it off with Artblocks?
Yeah, so number 10 we have Artblocks, and the reason why it's in this list but also number 10 is that Artblocks has been doing really well last week and a half, but they tend to pump in cycles. So before this, we haven't seen anything Artblocks in maybe the last 2 or 3 months. But they tend to hold their value a little bit better than the regular NFTs. So I'm curious to see where they're gonna take it. Like their main issue is that they just keep on creating these curated drops, and the collection keeps growing and growing, and it's hard to really see one specific project pump within Artblocks other than the Fidenzas. Are they Artblocks?
Fidenza. Yeah,
Yeah,
Fidenza's had a big pump in the last week. Also, Chromie
the
Squiggles,
squiggles. Yeah.
because that was the original Artblocks project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they've been doing quite well. So that's the reason why they're at spot number 10.
Yeah, I think with Artblocks, one of the best things you can do is like not buy into one of these pumps, let
Yeah.
things calm down. Like I know Squiggles is kind of one that I keep an eye on to kind of gauge how people are looking at the overall like art market on NFTs. And so like that was down in like the 5, 6 range, and now it's up to like
Yeah.
14. So I would expect a pullback to like maybe 10. But Artblocks is one of those like find stuff that you like and just kind of hold
Yeah.
on to it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think it's a good opportunity for like selling things like in and out quickly. So number 9, Dan, your beloved Wolf game. Go ahead and
Yeah.
we got some stuff coming the end of the year. Let's do a quick summary of that.
Yeah. So the reason why I haven't put it higher is because it's mostly still speculation, and the full game isn't even out yet. So I think it would be unfair for me to put it higher on this list. But full game coming in the fourth quarter, and we still have the land reveal coming as well. And if that all goes well, then I think it's going to do amazing. If the game isn't fun, then it's going to die. It's just that easy, right? So that's the reason why I put it on this list. Very excited for the game. Looking forward. Hoping it's fun. Hoping it's good. Looking forward. Yeah.
Okay. Number 8 is going to be Moonbirds. So easily the biggest project of the first half of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're set up to have a lot of success in the back half. They just recently put in a trademark for Moonbird's Ravens. So everyone is expecting that that is going to be kind of the equivalent to like Bored Ape and Mutant Apes. They had the Moonbird oddities that were airdropped, I want to say like a month or two ago, and they kind of describe those as like the kennel dogs, if you will. Like if we're trying to do like a 1-to-1 comparison of the BAYC ecosystem. So Moonbirds, solid team. They put on a great event in NFT NYC. It's also their nesting feature has made sure that a very small amount are ever listed for sale. Like I want to say less than 100 Moonbirds are listed for sale, which for a 10K collection on OpenSea, that's insanely low.
Yeah.
So a lot of great things coming from Moonbirds. We know that there's something involving Ravens. We're not totally sure yet, but if you got the money to put into something, I think that Moonbirds is a really great opportunity, not financial advice. So Dan, why don't you jump into the coolest of cats for us?
The coolest of cats. Yeah. So the cool cats are coming in at number 7. The reason why I put it on this list is because they've had an amazing NFT NYC show. They've shown to be very capable of like pumping out these amazing IRL events, staying very very on brand, very child friendly. So basically, I think that I value the fact that they can stay on brand this much and have this clear direction that they want to go. The only issue is that they've had some internal struggles with a CEO. If they figure that out, because I know that they're a capable team and they work very hard, and I think if you look at all the NFT projects, they're one of the more traditionally internally built projects. So what I mean with that is it's very layered, right? So you have like this one team above this team and that team doing that, and I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's good because they get their work done at least. So I think that's very cool, and I think that for their price that it is right now, it might be a good buy. Again, no financial advice, but that's the reason why I have them on our list.
Okay. Coming in at number 6 is Goblintown. It's been a wild ride for the Goblins. I was not a believer initially, and while I don't particularly, I guess you could say, vibe with the community, it's not my kind of thing. I'm not a particularly big fan of it. I do see that there's a ton of potential there. They've innovated a lot. That the timing of their free mint was perfect. Their NFT NYC events were definitely eye-catching and got attention. They have the McGoblin burgers, which something is going to be happening with them soon. They've been evolving these eggs. Something's happening there. So there's a lot that they are doing. They're building a story behind this, and the floor remains steady around like 2.7 to 3 ETH. They started to pick back up again. And the holders are still very, very dedicated. Even though things have slowed down a little bit, they kind of understand that they want the team to build something cool. So I think Goblintown is positioned to continue to have a strong 2022. So for number 5, I'm actually going to have you talk about Yuga. If you watched the show before, you know that I'm a big Yuga stan, but I actually hadn't initially put him on this list. Dan did. So I want him to talk about why he's keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, so I put Yuga at number 5 because they're actively working on the other side, and that's gonna really decide the 2022 for Yuga. I think there's a lot of bad press or like bad market sentiment around Yuga in general. Aside from like the whole allegation stuff, that's largely unfounded. But I think that they have got a lot of people looking at them, a lot of people hoping them to win, like the other side, at least do well on the other side. Because if they don't do well with the other side, I think that's a very, very bad look for them, but also for the market in general. I think it just shows that people don't really care about physical land as much as people think. That's the reason why I have them at number 5. I think that they've got a lot of eyes on them, and the other side is going to be very, very telling for their end of 2022.
Okay. Coming in at number 4, we have Gutter Cat Gang. I've been pumping this for a while. I think that they are well positioned to, have their Gang Wars game come out, their gang token. They had also a very good NFT NYC showing. They haven't been, over promising or anything. Like, they've been quietly building and releasing teasers, and their team is growing. They have some really, strong team members there. So I think in the coming, weeks to months, we could see a big make or break period for the Gutter Cat game. It's going to determine whether or not they're going to kind of just crawl into the next year, or if they're going to really take a step forward and become one of the leaders in the NFT space. Coming in at number 3 is Renga Factory. So I've been a fan of Art of Seasons for a while. I see what Renga is building. They're creating this whole storyline. Dirty Robot is the artist. He's a very well-respected artist, does some really cool stuff. I like the visuals. I like the feeling I've gotten from like interacting with the team members and the community members. So I think picking up a Renga black box is probably a decent idea. I am holding some from the airdrop, so keep that in mind. Like, I do have an interest in it, but I have an interest in it because I believe in it. So there's that. Have you taken a look at Renga at all, Dan?
I looked at Art of Seasons at the start, and I was like, yeah, it looks pretty cool. And I just kept on browsing, like the usual. Don't really spend too much time on it. I wish I did. I might still pick up a black box though. I'm considering it.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things too where, like, because the rarity in advance of like what your black box is, like, I don't think we're going to see a huge drop in the floor like we do when there's reveals for the rarity lottos of other projects. Like,
Such as Duplicator.
Yeah, exactly. So that was number 3, Renga Factory. Number 2 is actually, we had them on our show last week. A couple members of the team from Jenkins Valet, Azerbala. They just had the Bored and Dangerous drop yesterday for the Jenkins Valet book that has been, a year in the making. With that, you can either burn your copy here in a few weeks to claim a route to enter the world of Azerbala. There's some game theory around that too. Like, you can claim it and let it grow, and it'll be a stronger NFT when you enter that world, or you can just enter right away. Whatever you think less people are going to do is probably the right approach to take. But there's a lot of game theory to Azerbala. If you don't know too much about it, please go back and watch last Thursday's episode, because it was a really good primer on what to look for there. And then, Dan, our number 1 that we're looking at for the remainder of the year is a fairly polarizing one. They've had some drama in previous months. However, the project, the community, the leadership team has recovered from that, I believe, and is set up to potentially have a really strong end of 22, and that is Azuki. So why don't you jump into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you basically described it. It's the question is, not really the question. I mean, I guess the answer to my question is that they've done pretty well. Like, they had everything against them. Owner said hey, I basically rugged 3 projects in the past, unlucky. And Azuki, they rallied together. Honestly, the people seem to have forgiven him. Zagabond came out to NFT NYC and talked to people about, I guess, about it or about everything. So I respect them to come out publicly and talk about everything. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what they're gonna say about the future, about what they're planning to do, because they are working on building a big brand. The question I had still is just like, if Azuki flopped, would they have rocked it? That's the real
Yeah,
question. But
yeah,
hey, they're around and they're working on it. So
yeah. It's I'll give them credit for you know taking their beating there for a little bit.
mm-hmm.
Like Zagabond coming out and like doxing himself in FTNYC, I think was the right thing to do, and I respect the
Yeah,
hell out of that. He put himself out there, and I think that was the right call. The community behind it is still incredibly diehard, and you can say
yeah,
that's because they have a financial interest in it, whatever. But that's still, they could have sold when they had the chance for 12, 15 ETH a while back, but they wrote it out. We've seen, I keep an eye on like some of our charts and looking at like the number of unique owners of Azuki. It definitely dropped when the news first happened as more diehard collectors
yeah,
accumulated, but that started to recover. They have the Beans collection, which we've started to see like some Beans toys that are really cute. They have, the guy who built up Hello Kitty on board to help them build their brand. So they still have a really strong team behind it. I'm pretty sure there's still something coming in the end of this year as far as like another NFT in that collection that is part of the Azuki story, kind of like the villain in the Azuki story. So there's still a lot to potentially be excited about, and it's remained a pretty steady project on the pricing charts as well. So I don't think it's a safe bet by any means, but I do
yeah.
think it's a high upside play that could turn into something really special if they execute the remainder of this year and into next year. Anything else you want to touch on, Dan, or is that good for the day?
I think we're good for the day. I mean, yeah. I mean, basically, I guess if you were to summarize all of our number 10, all of our projects we just listed, I think it's like you mentioned, it's fairly high upside place, right? Like if you look into these projects that we listed and then see where they can grow to, I think it's they can grow pretty big. I mean, except for Yuga, I guess. But then still, there's other side that can still potentially grow a lot. I don't see Basie going much higher than this. But other than that, I think all other projects have fairly high upside plays.
I wouldn't count Yuga out with Bored Apes quite yet. Like people were saying that after like the first roadmap, like, oh, what can they do to really drive it
Yeah,
higher? We've seen it. Everything on this list is down pretty significantly from its all-time highs. I'm not saying that everything will get back to those. Maybe none of them will, but there is still that possibility.
yeah,
And when you have stuff like, there's a reason why Ranga and Jenkins was so high up on our list because like they have good teams behind them. They're still fairly new, and the floor price is not very high. So the chance of a better return on your investment there, not financial advice, seems higher than some of these other projects that have more significant floor pricing.
I
So I
agree.
think that is where we are going to leave it today. Once again, thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, FLOLiO.com. Check out your account valuation, use the browser extension, and let us know what you think. We want to take your feedback and help make that site better so that you can get the most out of your NFT buying experience. So for Dan, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Have a great week, everybody. We will see you next time.
Bye bye.